Hey there, welcome. It's Monday. It's a special Monday edition this week. Monday, September 21st, 2020. And this is week 38 of the Des Moines Real Estate Market Update. Thanks for joining me. My name is Les Solgrove with Via Realtors, and we're going to jump right in and talk about a little topic this week that a term that you maybe have never heard of before. It's a term I kind of made up. I did search Urban Dictionary to make sure I wasn't stealing anything, and I haven't ever seen it. But the term we're going to talk about today is called urban scatter. So what this term kind of refers to is migration of home ownership away from urban areas out towards the suburbs or out into the rural communities. And there's been a lot of articles written here in this last 3 or 4 months, especially with COVID-19, about where the market's heading and what kind of some of the changes are. And so I decided, I started reading some articles. In fact, there was a survey. Let's talk about this first. There was a survey by the National Association of Realtors recently, and they surveyed agents all across the country, asking them to describe the locations where their clients are looking for homes. And they were able to leave more than one response. So they have multiple responses allowed. And this is what that survey came back and said. It said 40% of the agents said that their agents were looking out in the suburbs or in a subdivision outside of urban areas. 39% were out in rural areas. 25% were actually even going on out into small towns. And it kind of makes sense. We talk about COVID-19 and how everybody's trying to just, get away from each other and get a little bit bigger houses. Well, those typically you get out in the rural and the small towns, you typically end up getting a little bit larger homes for your money. However, you notice that only 14% said that their clients were continuing to look within the urban center of cities. So I thought, well, that was kind of interesting. I don't know how that quite applies here. Then there was a follow-up survey. This was done with real estate brokers, and the Zelman and Associates surveyed brokers of real estate firms, and they stated about 68% total of their brokers responding said that there was either a moderate or significant shift towards more suburban locations. So you can see that 28% kind of said that it's kind of a balance, no changes. Only 3% of the brokers said that they're seeing this moderate shift toward urban. The majority were looking outside and moving out of the urban area. So that got me to thinking. I said, what's it doing here in Des Moines? Because Des Moines and Central Iowa typically don't follow the same drumbeat as the national markets do. When the markets were going crazy up and down with values over the last several years, Iowa and Central Iowa kind of held their own. We had our ups and downs, but they were very, very minimal. So I did a little bit of research. Yesterday I went and looked back 2019 versus 2020, and I only went through September 15th, January 1st through September 15th of 2019, and January 1st through September 15th of 2020, just trying to get an idea of, where we are year over year with this, this urban scatter that's supposedly being talked about. So on the left here, you see I've got a map of Central Iowa, and this green circle really loosely defines kind of our market area, the Des Moines market, or the Des Moines Area Association of Realtors market area. Now, it's not exact. We go out maybe not quite as far in some areas and farther out in areas, but you get the idea that this is the what I'm going to call the area outside of the metro. And inside here, you'll see I've got a red box or an orange box, and it says Des Moines Metro on it. And what this is referring to, this is not drawn to scale. It's just simply a box in the middle, but this is supposed to represent the city of Des Moines. So that's going to be our urban market. So the city of Des Moines versus the rest of the market. And the first thing I did was I looked at single family resale homes to start off with, because I wanted to see what, the majority of the sales in our marketplace are single family resale. And I wanted to see kind of, is there any way we can tell if there's a migration out of the metro, out of the urban, out to the suburbs? And 2019, January 1st through September 15th, we saw 29% of the sales in that time period last year were attributed to this metropolitan area, or the city of Des Moines in my example here. And so if we're going to see a urban scatter at all, we would think we would see this number drop considerably if that is indeed true happening in our marketplace. So I did the same search, single family home resales, and I only come up with 29% this year. So, I mean, 0.1% lower sales. And so to me, that's not an indication that anybody's moving anywhere outside of the city of Des Moines. At least at a rate any higher than we have in the past. We're 29% this year versus 29.1. So I thought, well, maybe I'm still missing something. So I, rather than just focusing on single family resale homes, I looked at all property types. So new construction, condominium, the townhome markets, everything all combined together. And so again, in 2019, this inventory, metro sales were 23.8%. A little bit lower because, predominantly our new construction that we have, which is our second largest number of transactions every year. Most of the new construction, or a large percentage of the new construction, is outside of the Des Moines city limits. We have some in Des Moines, but by far, some of the suburbs are where that new construction is. So therefore, when you factor that in, this percentage of sales in the metro is a little bit lower. So 23.8%, and that was for 2019. 2020 was 23.5. So again, not enough of a shift. I mean, it's a little bit lower, but not nearly enough of a shift to make me sit back and say, we have this urban scatter happening in our marketplace. So 23.5% of our sales are within the metro. 76.5% are attributed to the balance outside of that Des Moines area. So my conclusion is, and this is, take it for what it's worth. My conclusion is we're not following the national trends. We're not seeing urban scatter. We're just seeing, again, very, very stable sales within our marketplace, both inside the city of Des Moines, as well as out into the suburbs and into the rural. So I think that's, a testament of the stability that our marketplace has. And I'm kind of happy to see that, because I would hate to see, the market changing in this respect. So anyway, that's kind of the story about urban scatter this week. So let's jump in and see kind of what's happened this past week here in the market. I'm going to start off with pending sales added this week. This is an indication, or this is a graphic that shows how many homes went under contract during the previous week. So week 38, we had 291 homes went under contract, and our all-time high over the year was 423 back on week 25. But you'll notice that we've had a little bit of a boost here this past week. I mean, it wasn't a lot, but all things considered, with our low inventory, anytime that, we're going into the fall and we're starting to see maybe, homes still not coming on the market as fast as they should, for us to see a jump again in pending sales is a good sign. And I'm going to attribute a lot of this to, the schools now officially kind of technically back in session for 99% of the communities. Des Moines still working on it, but most of the people are back to work, still working from home, but they're like, this is our last chance as we go into the fall. Let's find something and move before the holidays. And if we look at the number of actual homes listed, I think this is going to tell you where some of these sales came in. We had 305 new properties came onto the market this past week. And of those, you see 291 homes went into pending contract, under contract in pendings. And frankly, that's tells me a lot about our marketplace going into the fall. We still have buyers who are absolutely actively searching the marketplace. And when we get 291 homes on the market, or 305 homes on the market in 1 week, and 291 homes go under contract, that tells me that they're still eating pretty heavily at the housing inventory as it comes on. So that's still a good sign. So if you're a seller, this is still a very, very good time to come onto the market. If you're a buyer, we saw an increase here this past week of about 300 homes. So that's good as well. To show you kind of where we are again, just in the perspective of where we should be with, or where we typically have been. I don't know if we can call it should be anymore, but where we typically have been, homes for sale. A year ago, we were at 4,214 homes for sale this past week, at the end of the past week. And as of Sunday yesterday, we were at 2,656 homes for sale. So we're still well below where we normally would be. In fact, we're not that far from our record all-time low here of that 2,595 that happened around the 1st of September. There's all bets are off. We could still drop even farther because, when we look at the homes for sale over the period of time, I'll show you that graphic here in a minute. When we look at the inverted market graphic, we're not that far from maybe going back under 2,600 homes again for sale. Sale pendings, traditionally, again, you'll see this on the larger graphic, but we typically see this line going downward. In fact, instead, what we're seeing is it's on the rise just slightly. It's not even level. It's still on the rise a little bit as far as new offers coming in. And for us to start September, maybe this is our September surprise, to borrow a coin from the political world. Instead of an October surprise, maybe we have a September surprise where our sales are continuing to rise a little bit. And a year ago, we were at 2,210 homes waiting to close. We're at 3,262. So still 1,000 homes in the pipeline that are over what we normally would have been a year ago. So here's that inversion market graphic. And that's another term that I kind of coined this year. And that's the point where our homes for sale inventory crossed under the number of homes that are in pending status. And that happened back in late May. And you can see here, here's our home for sale inventory. We should still be building if we were a year ago. And we're still we're not dropping so much this past week. We're still kind of tailing along here in kind of a level manner. But you can kind of see here's that little increase of homes that we took on the market this past week. And then here's where those homes were bought. So our pending activity kind of reflects whenever we get some new houses on the market, buyers are still there looking. And, where are we going to cross back over? Anybody knows, because if as long as we're either leveling out or going up in the case of pendings, it could take a long time before we get back into this normal, out of this inverted market that we're kind of in. And again, as long as we're in this inverted market, I honestly believe we're going to feel as though we are in an extremely, extremely tight, active real estate market. And that's showing because we don't typically see this kind of activity in September, October. So showing activity. This is from Showing Time. Again, this is the indication of lockbox opens. And this is a report from the Des Moines Area Association of Realtors. The orangish, goldish line there is 2020, and the 2019 is the dark line. That's a weekly average of lockbox opens or showings, actually showing requests, not necessarily lockboxes, I'm sorry, showing requests. And you can see that we, at the end of August, we kind of had a little bit of a dip. And then as we started back into September, it picked back up. But for the most part, since August, or actually since mid-July, we've been pretty much right on track with showings as we were last year. And so what this tells me is that, maybe showings might be a little bit slower, but the buyers that are out there looking are actually able to take advantage of that. So that's a good sign. So we'll kind of watch this again as we go through the year. Open houses, this is also a good time of year for us to kind of watch as we get into the fall. A lot of times sellers say, oh my gosh, we got to get our home sold before winter. Let's increase our open houses now. We're still not seeing that. We're still seeing pretty much around 5 to 575, 590 total homes held open. It's about a 55-45%. 55% of those 572 are new construction. 45% is resale properties, existing homes. And I'm just not expecting to see, open houses with COVID and social distancing still kind of in the play. I don't expect to see the open house counts continue to, do anything but either flatten or maybe even go down a little bit. One indication, again, that we're seeing some changes in the new construction models is price increases. And again, this week, we've had 2 weeks prior to this, we had increases in pricing. And 4 weeks ago, we had that 252 mark where we had 252 homes raise their prices, predominantly new construction. That's the same kind of group again we had here. We had another round of builders looking at their inventory and probably looking at their material costs and the availability of materials and said, you know what, we're going to have trouble moving forward here if we don't increase pricing, because we're not going to be able to get pricing, inventory and materials to as we go into the fall. So the only way we can do that is pay higher prices. And of course, they're just passing that on to the consumers here. So 123 more this week. We're not seeing price reductions like we have normally done. Again, that's 99% of that is due to, the fact that, homes are selling so fast. We have so few homes on the market. We're not seeing sellers out there saying we need to reduce our pricing as much. So the red line is kind of where we were last year, and we've been well underneath that all but, ever since week 11 here. So back on the markets, these are the homes sales that have fallen apart. We had a little bit of a drop last week, but we're currently at 25%. So 1 in 4 homes this past week, sales fell through, whether it was home inspection, buyer's remorse, buyer qualifying, financing, whatever. We had 1 out of 4 fell through. I actually had 1 fall through myself, which was due to home inspection. So it does happen. Our typical number is around that 18 to 20%. And we've, last year, we're kind of been above that this year. So closed sales year to date, we're still tracking well ahead. We're 1,143 homes ahead of last year closed. Sunday, we ended up the date at 11,365 homes closed, 10,222 a year ago at the same time. And, right now we are, again, I would say this every week, we're on track to exceed 15,000 closings this year. And we certainly should do that with no problem. So the weekly dashboard, I'll show you where you can get this each week. This is just kind of a recap of everything I've shown you in one particular graphic. You can see it across the bottom here, the pendings and the actives and where we are each week, and then broken down by the 4 categories. And I've got the inverted market graphic up here running at the top. Where you find this information each week is you can get it from facebook.com at SimplyDesMoines Stats. And when you go to that page, go to the photos and you'll see each week's photo gallery or photo album here. And each of those photo albums has all the graphics you're seeing in this report and many more. I don't put all these reports out on my show every week, or we'd be here for an hour and a half probably. But you can find this at Simply Des Moines Stats on Facebook. Go to photos, and then you'll see the albums. Additionally, each week, my videos are live typically on Tuesday. This was a Monday edition, but typically on Tuesday, and you can see the previous week's videos by clicking on the video link. You'll see upcoming videos if they're out there, but you'll also be able to see all of the previous videos from previous weeks. Also broadcasting this report out on YouTube live, and again, typically on Tuesdays. Just a strange week this week because I had an appointment tomorrow that I couldn't get out of, so we're broadcasting on Monday this week, but typically on Tuesdays at noon. If you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Les Sulgrove, Simply Des Moines is the channel name, and be sure and subscribe. Be sure and like each video, and if nothing else, hit the bell, and you'll be notified. There's a gold bell on there you can hit to be notified whenever there's a new update. So that's pretty much it for the week. Thanks for joining me. This has been a different week this week because it was on Monday. Next week, we will be back to Tuesday, so September 29th at noon. on Facebook and YouTube Live, both at the same time. Week 39, it's not quite the end of the month by the time this one comes out, so I will wait until week 40's report to go over the month of September numbers. So next week we'll work on getting a special guest. If you've got someone you'd recommend to see the show, to be on the show with me, I'd love to have them with me. Interview them. I'm trying to get somebody from closing department to talk to me, but they're very, very busy during the week, during the day. I might have to do a recording and play it back just to try to get somebody on here. But I think that would be an interesting interview. So with that, hey, thanks for joining me. This has been Les Solgrove with VO Realtors. And we will see you guys all again next Tuesday, 12 o'clock noon. Until then, stay safe and enjoy the fall weather.